And we're back with some more Dyson Sphere Program. And things are going, well, consistently, I'll give it that. This is 30,000 science per minute. It's chugging along quite nicely. I can't leave it run overnight. Well, I can, but then when I come back, it's actually finished all the science. Even if we queue up the maximum amount of vein utilization, it all finishes on an overnight run. Kind of ridiculous. Currently, we are at an ore loss per mining operation of 0.0251, which is a pathetically small amount of ore loss. It just basically means you don't really see the ore going down. It happens in such small quantities you don't even notice anymore. At this point, we're effectively going to have enough resources to last forever, I think. I had to slow down on the deployment though because we ran out of transport belt. Somehow we ran out of transport belt. Despite having 3 malls to produce transport belt with, we still ran out. It's okay. I've gone around, put in a whole bunch of, well, stockpiles on all of them to increase the stockpiles they can all hold. Then I let it run overnight. So now we should be able to deploy all the way up to about 100,000 signs per minute. Theoretically. A little bit more building later, and this is another planet successfully covered in science. And our production rate of science is now up to 50,000. Actually, okay, I covered several planets more in science. Just because once you start, you can't stop type of thing. Though I think I'm hitting that stopping level. Though one thing I want to cover, and it's these, what do you call the battlefield analysis stations. They actually do take up a fair bit of processing power. I've gone back and stripped them out of all the old builds because there's 6 per science build, and that's 6 per every 450 science. And that starts to take up a lot of processing power after a while. Like right now, if we check under performance test, we can see here build system. Build system is basically your battlefield analysis stations. Right now, that's doing about 2.2 milliseconds. Yeah, it's about 2.2 milliseconds of update time. And that's only this planet that's got the battlefield analysis stations on them. So I'm just going to rip those out real quick. After quickly zipping around and ripping out all of the battlefield analysis station, you can find that the build system has dropped down to, damn it, a fraction of a millisecond. It's not even 1 millisecond anymore. You notice that the transportation thing jumps up. It seems every so often the transportation soaks up an awful lot of resources while it figures out where all the ships have got to go. I presume that spike is when it goes, okay, we got to transport stuff in between systems that are far away, and like that web of just ships going everywhere is mental. So the game is starting to get to, I wouldn't say unplayable, but it's getting pretty close. The lag right now is just, I've got it set to a 1-to-1 where it's half FPS, half UPS. So if you put it any more into FPS, great, you'll get more frames, but then you're going to move really slowly. Like you'll notice us moving around. This is us moving at max speed. It's just the game is running much, much slower, but it's still smooth-ish. I think this is as far as I can take it without actually breaking anything. I suppose I could put down another planetary. No, no, no. This is fair enough. It's got to the point now where our mining efficiency has just hit ludicrous levels. Yeah, give me about 2 or 3 more upgrades. Like, if this was 1% ore loss, we would be using 1 ore for every 100 we get out of it. At 0.1, we were getting 1,000 ore for every 1 ore we mine. At 0.01, okay, we'll have to do a little bit of extra work. That means for every 10,000 ore we mine, we lose 1 out of whatever we're mining from. This is ludicrous. Let's go through our biggest bottlenecks, though. Our biggest bottleneck is actually stalagmite crystals. These here, stalagmite crystals, are the ones we use the most of, that we have the least of in existence in the universe. We don't use unipolar magnets. There's a reason I didn't use unipolar magnets in the build, is because then they would have become our biggest bottleneck. This here is the Dyson Sphere Program calculator. We've got in the amount of science we're going to be generating. Once it maxes out, that might take another hour for all the kinks to smooth out. But at that rate, what we can do now is we can sort by items, as in the most used items. And it's going to be, well, hydrogen, but we don't care. Hydrogen is effectively infinite. Next comes silicon. Silicon, iron, copper, coal, all of those are just going to be, well, pretty much infinite. We've got masses of them to choose from in the galaxy. But stalagmite crystals, they're a little bit more rare. In fact, of all the things listed in here, they're the rarest one that we're going to be using a lot of. Next one down would probably be these things, grating crystals. So grating crystals would be the second most common, or second least likely bottleneck we're going to encounter. If we need any more of any other resources like copper, iron, anything like that, we can chuck down mines just across everywhere. They're just so common. Kimberlite ore is just so far down the list. We need 80,000 kimberlite ore per minute. That's not a lot. Like, that's a pretty small amount of kimberlite ore compared to, say, well, 301,000 stalagmite crystals, considering how rare they are to come by. This world here is our main stalagmite crystal planet. It's an aquatic world. Basically, the best stalagmite planets are always aquatic. And, okay, I discovered bottlenecks in the grading crystal first, and I preemptively took care of any stalagmite ones. But this here is a stalagmite tower that is currently... Yeah, you can see here there's 0 ships on it. Oh, there's one. One has returned, and now it is immediately leaving again. Basically, these things are distributing all of the stalagmite crystals that are being harvested to wherever they're needed in our science labs all across. Well, there's only 3 main science systems right now. Same here, there's no ships left. Like, here's one returning now. It's probably going to chuck in some resources into it and leave shortly thereafterwards. You can check this one over here. There is 0 ships on it at the moment. Hey, you. You want to go? Yeah, don't make alarm me. There you go. See? They're immediately off to go chuck down some more resources somewhere else. This one here, flat out. This one here, also flat out. This one here, not quite flat out. There's still 4 ships left on it. And there is another one on the opposite side of the planet. So the opposite side of the planet also has a big, huge stack of them, but they are not being used right now because, well, we don't need it. There's slack in the amount required. In fact, if we go in here into performance, under number 4, I've saved all of the rare resources we could potentially be using. Stalagmite crystals have a production rate of 77,200, based on the amount of facilities we have placed around the world. They're not just on this planet, though. There's some on other planets. Just one main one, to be honest. But even then, we only have twice the amount we could potentially produce compared to the amount we're actually using. We're using 318,000 stalagmite crystal per minute, and we could maximally produce, we could use about twice as much as that. Grading crystals, we could actually triple production of grading crystals and still be fine. So this is our biggest bottleneck. And even then, we've still got twice as much as we need. Question is, how long would this last us? If we were to say, take this number here, in 18,950, actually 1 second. So, doing the numbers here, we have about 68,050,000 stalagmite crystals on this planet. Assuming we only use this, and we burned about, say, 330,000 stalagmite crystals per minute, and we had no mining efficiency bonuses, we'd actually burn through our entire reserves in about 206 minutes, or 3.5 hours. In about 3.5 hours, we would go through all of this if we had no mining efficiency things. Because then our mining rate was 100%, and that was our efficiency. But no, that's not where we're at. We're at 0.0112%, which, efficiency-wise, that means what we're realistically sitting on is about 6 billion stalagmite crystals. Not 68 million, 6 billion, considering the efficiency rates we've got right now. Which means if we divide that by the 330,000 crystals per minute, we've actually got about 306 hours worth. Or 18,000 minutes, or to put it another way, about 12.5 days. We have about 12.5 days of production at current efficiency rates. Now, I should also point out that the game's only running at about 20 UPS per minute, which means you'd actually have to multiply that by 3 to get the actual amount of days it would last, because it's only going to run at 20% speed. Though, realistically, if you're going to leave it run overnight, by cranking it all the way up to the maximum amount of UPS, we get it up to 26 UPS, which is, you know, better. But I kind of prefer having the SPS to float around with. I mean, we lose 5 of the UPS, but we gain an awful lot in the FPS. Alright then, so this is probably our biggest bottleneck, and we can still double up on it. And as well as that, every time a mining efficiency bonus kicks in, what this does is allows it to mine even faster. One thing you keep forgetting, well, I kept forgetting, was that there's a mining speed bonus up here, 1,570%, which means the mines we have here just get more and more efficient. Oh, and in case you're wondering, yes, we've cranked up the collection speed to 300%. We're more than willing to burn power. We will just shovel power into a furnace. We do not care. One other thing I have learned is this is just a really handy screen to keep track of all of these things. Well, not so much the graviton lenses, but this is how much graviton lenses we're producing, this is how much we're consuming, and this is what we can max out at. So we don't have to care about graviton lenses. Antimatter fuel rods, we're consuming 2,772 antimatter fuel rods per minute. But for reference, we can produce 8,460. So we're good. We don't have to worry about antimatter fuel rods running out. Whatever, the way they change the statistic panel makes it so much easier to figure out what you need and don't need. For example, critical photons. We're harvesting them from our Hellraiser planet. You know, the one that's just covered in all the spiky bits. Yes, that one there can produce about 120k. A little bit less, actually. This is including another planet we've got. But that means we're only consuming about half of the critical photons we're producing, so we don't need another planet just yet. Now, proliferate. We're going to be using 85,000 proliferate. What's going on there? I think I overproduced the proliferate because we can produce 300,000 of this stuff. We don't need that much proliferate. And science-wise, we're now up to 55,000 in production out of a possible 55,800. Wait, what were my numbers saying again? Actually, numbers are shiny and all that, but I don't think anything really gets across the scale of it better than that. We're going to max out at about 55,800 science per minute. I think that's where I want to leave it because the game's just... the chuggishness gets a little bit slower. I've noticed that every single planet I was paving over was just a little bit slower and more awkward every time before I deleted. Like, just it's those extra building units I have to put down. I've managed to strip them out of everything. I went back to the proliferator planets and made sure to strip them out of there. The only places that actually have the battlefield analysis stations are our farm, and our farm's not really consuming that much, to be honest. Plus, we need it for producing all of the buildings that we're making to stamp down. I just noticed I only have 6 fractal silicon mines. What was I thinking? I'm just gonna pop over to this place real quick. It's got itself some, some fractal silicon, fractal silicon we'd like to get our hands on. But one thing I'd like to point out is we've just done another mining efficiency upgrade, and I'd like to go through the numbers on that. Like, just at this level, we're probably going to grab some more before this is all over, but just assuming we only did one level of mining efficiency gain, what did it do to the amount of hours of resources we would have in reserve of stalagmite crystals? Checking the numbers, basically how long we could last on those stalagmite crystals went up by about 6%, or we went from about 12.5 days to 13.5 days. Right now, I'm actually upgrading the durability on our combat robots because, well, we got to go clear out a sector. And it's been a while since I did combat, but I figure just making the bots tougher and considering how quickly we can get those gains, we might as well throw them in. But yeah, basically, the amount of resources we're getting out of the efficiency upgrades increases so rapidly that it outpaces how much we're decreasing them by. We basically gained about 0.4 billion resources with that one efficiency upgrade in mining. That's ridiculous. So effectively, you could probably do this, not forever, but for... Oh. I think we just passed through that thing.
Warp engine deactivated.
Yeah. I'm going to need to come back in at an angle and kill this. Let's see what a really heavily upgraded robots can do. That's about 1,571 dark fog units. Our stuff's pretty heavily upgraded. I haven't really crammed as much upgrades into it as I have the mining, but I figured this should be a fairly quick beatdown. Yeah, that looks like they're doing a fair bit of damage. I'm not going to worry about the respawn rate just yet. We haven't cleared out the planet. I just wanted to see what our ships were capable of. And while we are losing them, of course, they are going to die, I think they're more than a match for the enemies we're facing. So, best I can tell, yeah, we're totally overpowered at this point. The enemies can't really do anything to us. You guys summon? You guys want to pop up at all, or... Oh yeah, that was it. I have to disable, enable... Pop them, and then they should appear and blast everything from outer space. Right, once all the space stuff is gone, then we can go down on the ground. Pretty sure our ground game is going to be just as devastating to them. Oh, actually, wait a second. Oop, oop, oop. What happens if we land in the middle of them, I wonder? Yeah, our shields are not even... I was noticing that we were getting shot a bit earlier, and our shields weren't seeming to care. Oh, no, it's actually going down there. You know what? Let's turn on our ground defense, guys. They can start killing stuff. Yeah, I'm pretty sure we're well overpowered. I mean, it was kind of to be anticipated once you get enough upgrades into anything. But just the fact that they couldn't even scratch our shields. I suppose if we put up the difficulty a lot more, maybe that would help. No, what are we doing? We're at endgame. We've killed... Oh my... That was just one plasma shot. Like a single plasma shot went off and it basically just vaporized a chunk of their base. I suppose the energy damage we've got is just ludicrously high. And let's just try throwing out a bunch of high explosives. I really do love the grenades introduced in this. Just the explosion damage kills so much, and it's just so satisfying. It's got that chunky just... Oh well. 10 units are coming? Oh, no? I think. Whatever. You, over there. Eat a giant bomb. And then another one. And then another one. Oh my god! It actually impacted something on the in the air. There was just such a thick air cover. The explosives impacted that instead. Well, in that case, we'll just carpet bomb everything. Enjoy. And yeah, that's mostly dead. I'll just clear this out, tap into the fractal silicone, and then I'll be satisfied that we've got like a long-term sustainable future for our production. I haven't covered the defensive top in a while, but yeah, this is probably my favorite build of this entire game so far. All we do is we tuck in over here, make sure we're right beside the power generator. Then we'll grab ourselves 5 antimatter there, thank you very much. And then we chuck that 5 antimatter into the power generator. That provides power to all of the battlefield analysis stations, and then the whole thing gets put together in no time at all. Now, this thing is automatically set to 1 outgoing interaction. It calls in fuel to run the power generators, and it calls in plasma capsules to fill up the cannons, and we're done. Then all we do, dismantle the battlefield analysis stations, and we're done. Well, okay, we will have to wait until the ammo comes in before this can be officially considered done, but considering nothing's going to be going near this planet anytime in the near future, all we got to do now is go to the opposite side, tap in that one, and this planet's fully protected, and I missed a base. There's a base right there. I am an idiot. Fine, I'll go over and kill it. I got a little bit distracted, but we've chucked down a bunch of fractal silicon mines, and now our fractal silicon amount we can potentially go up to is high enough that I am no longer concerned about it. Stalagmite crystals, still a bit low, but, you know, it's fine. We've actually got another mining efficiency upgrade through. In fact, we're about to have another one go through. We've finally gone below the 0.00% mark. Okay. Wait, we're at 0.00991, and then 0.00931. Okay then. Before I finish this up, though, there is one thing I would like to knock out of the way, and that is that extra science introduced, namely these things. Solar sail attaching speed. Yeah, that needs to be fixed. I need all of those knocked out just so I can have the last... Like, I'm not going to use them. I have no intention of putting any more solar sails on because I don't think a computer could handle even more solar sails. But I think it should just be a case of switching these. Like, just find one of these and go, yes, you. I would like to switch you over to research. Then it should fill up. And then we can just start researching, right? Go for it. No, all of that can go, and instead we'll just queue these guys up. I don't think there's any infinite science on these, thankfully, otherwise it might get even worse. Yep, easy peasy, easy peasy. Okay, took a few minutes, but that's that done. It's absolutely of no purpose, but it's just one of those completionist things that we should probably queue up some more research just to get that science churning again. You know what? Give me some more. That goes from what, 162,000 to 200,000. We can take a couple of upgrades in logistic carrier robots, and then we'll just make it as much mining stuff as possible. For a very brief period, I believe our science will be absolutely incredible because we'll have a bit of a backlog. So there'll be this massive spike in science as it just absolutely goes stratospheric, and then it'll go back down to normal speeds again. Our current consumption rate is about 114,000 science per minute. And that's, yep, that's only over about the last 30 seconds that we've actually, it's actually a little bit higher than that. It's just we're chewing through the massive backlog of all of the white science, and we've literally knocked out logistics carrier engines. Fair enough. Fair enough, but now it's actually chewed through the backlog. You'll notice that those things are not quite so full anymore, so that will rapidly drop down to a more sustainable level. But I suppose the main questions are, what did I learn? What would I do differently? Like, there's so many things. One, I would have integrated a few more things into our science build. Namely, I would have integrated the proliferate production into it. It's just all the resources used in proliferate production are also used in the science, namely the stalagmite crystals that used to make the nanoparticles, the the coal, and the diamonds, which come from kimberlite ore. All three of those are already in here. So the main resources to make it is there. Why not just build it into it so you don't have to build massive proliferate facilities? It just would save time, effort, and energy dumping it all into this. Speaking of energy, I would integrate antimatter cell production into it as well. You'd have your own separate antimatter production facility just for, outposts and stuff like that and mining. But by and large, you could just outsource the antimatter production into this. All the resources required to make it are already integrated in here and being produced in one way, shape, or form. It'd just be a slight expansion of it. You've even got, you're splitting the photons over here as well. So it's not like it would be a big leap. Integrate all those things into it, so you have your power production, your proliferate production, and the science production all into one very, very black box production facility. Much easier to stamp down. You just stamp it down, and the slow expansion would be much better that way. There was whole periods there where I was just chucking down lots of either antimatter cell production or proliferate production. Instead, nope, integrate it all into one and be done with it. Right now on this map, you can see the main consumers are science, science, science. Then we also have, proliferate, prime, and where's the antimatter, and the antimatter cell production. But if we combine those all into one, it would simplify things dramatically. Also, when it comes to mining, yeah, I tapped into too many planets. There's resources coming from old core over there and a few other places. It's not necessary. Once I realized, we basically have one giant planet doing stalagmite crystals, and that's providing enough for us. One or two planets full of iron ore would probably be enough. And even over here, on the top parts of the planet, we normally colonize basically the center point around the equator. In the top parts, there's definitely usually leftover copper, iron, titanium, all this stuff. Tap into that, plug that into your system, and it'll probably be more than enough. Worst case scenario, find a planet with lots of iron, copper, whatever the main resources. Chuck down a bunch of transport towers to export it out, and you could literally fill probably, say, 6 or 7 systems. And in 6 or 7 systems, you could probably have everything you need and keep the transport much more condensed around that, except for maybe your solar production. Oh yeah, the Dyson Sphere. This was not overkill. It was just about right. One full planet covered in Dyson dishes being fed graviton lenses to boost their efficiency was just about the right amount. If we check under here, under photons, we're producing 43,000. We're consuming 54. There's a little bit of a imbalance right now, but we're definitely producing as much as we need, and we theoretically will produce about 100,000 and change of them. So we could definitely keep expanding out. One planet, it seems, was more than enough. When it comes to actual power drain, though, currently the consumption demand is a little bit low because our science is still spinning up, but consumption goes up to about, about 350 gigawatts, somewhere around there was what we were actually pushing once science is fully ramped up again. That is a lot of power, and the majority of our power comes from antimatter fuel cells. Like 99% of it is being produced in the artificial suns, and the other 1% is coming from ray receivers with like some minor stuff from other things sprinkled in there. But by and large, 99.9% is either artificial suns or ray receivers. All other forms of power do not even come close. So Dyson spheres are the way to go. As for the size of the Dyson sphere to go to, no, 8.13 terawatts is too much. Well, okay, wait, let me rephrase. 8.13 terawatts is probably more than you're going to spend unless you're running a supercomputer. We're requesting 2.59 terawatts, so about 2.5 terawatts is probably more than you will ever need. So say, 2.5 terawatts means you don't really need the blue giant. You're probably okay with a regular blue sun with high luminosity. You'd probably be fine with those, and you can always put on multi-layers of Dyson Sphere. I was planning on finishing the Dyson Sphere, but there's no way. The game would start crying. I mean, the game's already slow enough, but the moment you start firing solar sails, it basically tanks everything. It's 5 times worse. Also, the save size would explode massively if I tried to do that. It's tempting, but no thank you. Save game file will be attached. It's almost 1.6 gigs, so do be aware. Might take a little bit of time to download. It's on I'll be on my shared drive, but I have no idea. No idea if that will be how Google will respond if a lot more than a few people download it. It'll probably be fine. Probably. So this is pretty much the end of this playthrough. I know it wasn't hugely popular with a lot of viewers, but I couldn't not finish it just for the few of you that were still hanging around to see what happened. Sorry we didn't get to 100k, but it's getting sluggish. Save game file will be there if you want to go and try it yourself if your computer's more beastly than mine. I think I will do one little small episode on this just to basically go over all the things I learned and kind of get a clear picture of if I had to do this all over again, how I would have structured it differently, what I would have done differently, how I would have started things differently, because I learned an awful lot about this game going through it. And also, yes, black box design, absolutely. That in my opinion is late game. That's the only way. It is the only way. Anyway, this has been Dyson Sphere. I hope you enjoyed it. Good luck.